Donald Trump's cabinet does not represent the best and brightest of this nation. They don't even represent the barely competent. And that was incredibly clear when Kristi Noem appeared in a congressional hearing today and not only was ripped to shreds, but was just completely humiliated, not only by the congresswoman grilling her, but by herself, demonstrating how little she knows, barely able to even speak at certain points. We're going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we get into Kristi Noem's appearance before Congress, I want to check out a short clip that'll just make you roll your eyes of J.D. Vance trying to tell a joke with her.
I know we'll have visitors probably from close to 100 countries. We want them to come, we want them to celebrate, we want them to watch the game, but when the time is up, they'll have to go home. Otherwise, they'll have to talk to Secretary Noem, who I'll turn it over to now.
So that was a press conference about the World Cup coming to the United States in 2026. And J.D. Vance, instead of talking about how excited he is for the tourism that it will bring to our country, the boost it will give to our economy, no, he's threatening to deport people who overstay their welcome. Why would you even say that? Tourism is tanking in America, which has a huge impact on our economy. And J.D. Vance is already talking about deporting people who aren't even here. They're just such weirdos. They're incompetent. They're useless. And Kristi Noem really put that on display when Congresswoman Underwood from Illinois just ripped her to shreds. You can see that right here.
This weekend, the president made the remarkable statement that he, quote, doesn't know whether he has to uphold the Constitution. You, however, have taken a different position, both in your confirmation hearing and when you took the oath of office. You said that you were committed to complying with the Constitution. Do you still stand by that statement?
Absolutely. I believe President Trump.
Excellent. Let's start with Article 1, which gives Congress and only Congress the power of the purse. No money shall be drawn from the Treasury, but in consequence of appropriations made by law. But this administration is freezing, terminating, and even clawing back federal grants and awards that were already signed into law. These are taxpayer dollars that were appropriated by Congress for the specific purposes that we laid out. So, Secretary, let me ask you, do you believe the administration has the authority to subvert appropriations law to freeze and terminate congressional funding?
The administration and the Department of Homeland Security used our authorities that we have to evaluate every grant that was in front of us and meet statutory requirements, but also to make sure that they were being spent appropriate.
So, of course, the president is within his authorities.
Make sure
Ma'am,
that
this
we
is my time.
forward.
Thank you so much. Of course, the president's within his authorities to drive policy decisions within the bounds of federal law and the Constitution, but that's not what you've been doing. What I'm asking is whether you believe you have the authority to ignore appropriations law. Do you believe that the Constitution gives the executive branch unilateral authority to withhold funds appropriated by the legislative branch?
We have evaluated grants to make sure if they're being spent appropriately, and work that is underway and was authorized has continued. Other grants that have not been started and have not been authorized or obligated, we have reevaluated. And I think you're talking specifically about grants potentially within FEMA that were non-disaster related grants.
I'm talking
Those
broadly, ma'am,
programs are
and
being-
Article 2 does not give the executive the authority to withhold funds, period. And multiple courts have weighed in to agree. Multiple courts have ruled in agreement. Congress controls the power of the purse. That is a fact. That's not a question. That is a fact. And so if the president disagrees with certain spending, Congress passed the Impoundment Act to create a legal process to seek rescissions, and we expect him to follow the law. This administration is not just ignoring the constitutional power of the people's elected representatives. It is also violating the fundamental right of individuals. Do you believe that the Constitution grants everyone in our country the right to due process, including non-citizens?
The administration has the authority to.
Ma'am, I'm looking for a yes or no question. Yes or no. Do you believe the Constitution? Yes, ma'am. Do you,
we have
ma'am?
not conducted
We're
in
claiming my
any
time,
kind of
Mr.
impoundment.
Chairman.
Time is yours.
Okay. Secretary Noem, I'm just looking for a yes or no here. Do you believe the Constitution guarantees due process to everyone in America?
Due process is exactly what this Congress
Yes
lays out.
or no?
It is,
Okay,
and the
ma'am,
tools
I'll
that
take
you
that as
give
a
us
no.
on due process
Excuse me,
is
I'm trying,
afforded to.
ma'am, I'm trying to ascertain your understanding of the law as it applies to your department. And you as its leader should be able to give us a yes or no answer because judge after judge has ruled that the law is not being followed. Do you believe that the U.S. government has the authority to deport American citizens?
No, and we are not deporting
great.
U.S. citizens.
I'm so happy to hear that you do not believe that the law gives you that authority, because the federal government has no authority under U.S. laws to deport any American citizen. And as I know, everyone viewing this hearing today knows that several American citizens have been deported to date.
That is not
Secretary
true.
Noem, that was not a question. Secretary Noem, that oath that we both swore before taking office was to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. Not the president, not a political party, the Constitution. And that's what we're going to keep doing here at the Appropriations Committee. Thank you. I yield back. On this subcommittee, our job is to keep our country safe and to safeguard our values as Americans. So let me begin with some facts that I think are important for the American people to hear about what you're doing with their money. Because 3 months into this administration, America is more vulnerable than it's ever been. Our homeland is not secure. In the first 100 days of the Trump administration, you have slashed our nation's cyber defenses, letting Russia, China, and Iran steal our top secrets and Americans' personal data. You've wasted hundreds of millions of dollars on illegal detention and deportation, including some people who are trying to come into this country, quote, the legal way within our broken immigration system, despite, by the department's own admission, southern border encounters already at record lows. Sent emails to U.S. citizens that read, please leave the United States immediately. Removed U.S. citizen children, including those with terminal illnesses. Raised the price tag of future disasters by cutting billions from projects across the country to make our infrastructure more resilient, including a bipartisan program that was enacted into law by President Trump himself, and taken millions of dollars away from the DHS workforce and operations for what appears to be taxpayer-funded political advertisements. The Trump administration's actions have pushed us to unprecedented and to a sobering moment. America is a democracy, not a dictatorship. In a democracy, we are organized around the rule of law, and those laws are based on a core set of constitutional rights. You may be familiar with the Bill of Rights. It includes the Fourth Amendment, which forbids unreasonable searches and seizures, the Fifth Amendment, which guarantees the right to due process, and the Sixth Amendment, which protects the right to a fair trial and legal counsel. As we endeavor to secure the homeland, we must continue to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. That is not a secondary mission.
These are not the best and brightest. These people cannot do their jobs. They are wholly unqualified, and at times I feel like that's the entire point. Not that Donald Trump likes the screw-ups. Clearly, he doesn't care about the screw-ups happening at the Pentagon or happening in Homeland Security, but he is happy to really coalesce and put all the power he possibly can in his own hands, as his, incompetent secretaries can't really do much at all, and they can't even defend him or his actions. They just crumble, as we saw with Kristi Noem. That was just embarrassing, and it's not the only embarrassing shredding of Donald Trump's lies, obviously, that happened in Congress today. Jasmine Crockett got in on the fun. I want to check that out right here.
Okay, I don't really know where to begin. We've got a lot of ground to cover in about 5 minutes, so let's go. I've got 3 statements that I want to know if you agree or disagree with, and I want to just go down the row. Yes or no? Does cutting pay typically assist in recruiting a workforce? Yes or no?
No.
No.
Generally, no.
No.
Thank you. It sounds like a low IQ implementation to me. So let's go to the next one. Does poor working conditions assist with recruitment? Yes or no?
No.
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 Sounds like another low IQ implementation to me. And finally, I'm going to start with Mr. Potter because I don't know how this is going to go. Does union busting help with recruitment?
No.
I know nothing about unions whatsoever. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
I don't know anything about unions either.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so again, another low IQ implementation. I just want to be clear that the American people should know that these are all Trump 2.0 policies. So when we say that he's failed, let me tell you, we got receipts, and those are some of the receipts. So when we start talking about this pay, I think that we've talked about the fact that there was a 25%, up to a 25% cut in recruitment bonuses or retention bonuses. But I want to make sure that people understand the numbers. I want y'all to know what the numbers are. It looks like on average in 2023, the average CO for the BOP made $57,000. So now we're talking about potentially up to a 25% cut in that. Now let's transpose that with what they don't want to talk about is what we did last week, which was reconciliation, where in their bill, they decided that they wanted to add this big number as an increase for bonuses for ICE agents. What that translated to was bonuses of approximately $44,000 for each ICE agent. So we're talking about ICE agents getting an additional $44,000 per person, while on average, when we talk about our COs at the BOP only making $57,000 and talking about cutting up to 25% of that. That is why we're outraged. That is why we say that this is a joke, because you can't sit here and continuously underfund an agency and then expect it to overperform. So let's talk about the underfunding. We have talked about immigration for a reason, not because we think that it makes sense to just talk about immigration all day, every day. It seems like our colleagues on the other side of the aisle want to do it, but it is relevant to this conversation. You know why? Because according to this particular document from The Guardian, it says, as it relates to a partnership between BOP and ICE, two agencies that have generally operated separately, means people accused of civil immigration violations are being imprisoned in harsh environments of the federal penitentiaries run by prison guards. Right now, I believe that the number was, the most recent number that I had was that they had approximately 700 persons that were being held for ICE within the Bureau of Prisons. And guess what? Do you think they gave the BOP any extra dollars to be able to take care of those folks? They didn't. I'll help you. It says Congress provided no increase to the BOP's salaries and expenses account in fiscal year 2024, despite the staffing crisis that has been linked to prisoner deaths and a cascade of operational problems at the agency.
Did you notice how Jasmine Crockett kept saying it's a low IQ idea at the beginning? Clearly referencing her number one fan in Donald Trump and calling him out. And I do think we should refer to these ideas as low IQ. Speak the language of the right. Why not? Donald Trump is pretty stupid. I don't think there's anything wrong with pointing that out. And you know that because we're calling it out every single day on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.